Welcome back. Today we're diving into the often overlooked complexities of landlord-tenant relationships, especially when accessibility and clear communication are at stake. We have a real-world scenario before us. A formal request from a tenant, Lauren Melody Ham, to her landlord, Bapa Keshav J. LLC, in Barre, Vermont. This letter, which is quite detailed, is a plea for clarity, specifically for billing details, all communication to be in writing, and for medically documented ADA accommodations to be reviewed and met. What really stands out is the tenant's reliance on Vermont's emergency housing program, underscoring the fundamental need for accessible and safe living conditions.
It's a critical situation for the tenant, no doubt. But from a property owner's perspective, I immediately think about the practicalities and the costs. Providing all communication in writing, ensuring ADA compliance for a safe and finished room, a functioning bathroom, and winter stability. These aren't minor asks. While the humanitarian aspect is clear, what's the financial burden and logistical overhead for the landlord here? Especially if their property wasn't originally designed with such specific accommodations in mind.
That's a valid concern, David. However, this is precisely where technology can bridge the gap. Think about how much simpler clear communication channels could be with a secure tenant portal or a dedicated communication platform. For documentation, digital records management systems could streamline the process for both parties, making it easier for the tenant to submit medical documentation for their aid and needs and for the landlord to track and respond. The challenge, of course, is the initial implementation and ensuring everyone has access and training.
Exactly, Lisa. The tenant explicitly states, "Due to my ADA documented disabilities, all communication must be provided in writing. Written communication prevents confusion and allows me to process information accurately." This isn't just a preference, it's a necessity for her to manage her tenancy effectively and avoid misunderstandings. And her accommodation needs, like a safe room, functioning bathroom, and winter stability, are not just wishes, but are medically documented, making them a legal requirement under ADA.
I understand the legal obligations around ADA and the need for written communication. But how far does that go? Does it mean every single interaction, every maintenance request, every late notice has to be a formal written document, potentially slowing down operations? And what if a landlord is managing dozens or hundreds of properties? The scale of that administrative burden could be significant, especially for smaller property owners.
That's a fair point, David, but that's where thoughtful technological solutions come in. We're not talking about sending formal letters for every interaction. We're talking about adopting platforms that make written communication as easy as a text message, but with the added benefit of being archived and accessible for both parties. Imagine a tenant app where all requests, responses, billing statements, and ADA-related discussions are logged automatically. This would actually reduce the administrative burden and provide an indisputable record, addressing the tenant's need for clarity and the landlord's need for efficiency and compliance.
Shifting gears to the landlord side, it's easy to focus on the costs of ADA accommodations. But we also need to look at the financial implications of housing programs like Surciel and Mosaic from DCF. These vouchers, often seen as bureaucratic, actually offer significant business benefits. The documents here explicitly state they provide reliable payment and conduct, full safety screenings. For a property owner, that's not just a social good. It's a stable revenue stream and reduced tenant risk, which are huge advantages in a volatile market.
That's a crucial point, David. While the financial benefits of reliable payment and pre-screened tenants are clear, it's also important to remember that accepting these vouchers doesn't negate the legal obligations around ADA compliance. In fact, for a tenant like Lauren, whose needs are medically documented, those ADA requirements are still paramount. It's about finding that balance, where the property owner gains stability, while still upholding their legal duty to provide accessible housing.
And this is precisely where technology can turn those bureaucratic processes into operational efficiencies. Imagine landlords having a digital platform that integrates directly with voucher programs like Circle or Mosaic. This wouldn't just streamline the application and payment processing, but also tenant management, from maintenance requests to rent collection, all while ensuring written communication is archived and easily accessible. This reduces administrative burden significantly, making it far more attractive for landlords to participate and comply with ADA requirements.
I can see the appeal of digital integration for larger property management companies. But for a smaller landlord, maybe with just a few properties, implementing and maintaining such a system could feel like another overhead cost. Is the return on investment truly there for everyone? Or are we talking about solutions primarily for more sophisticated operations?
It's a valid concern about scale, David, but the tools are becoming increasingly accessible and user-friendly. Think cloud-based solutions, often subscription-based, that don't require massive upfront investment or IT departments. The administrative savings from automated rent collection, digital record keeping, and streamlined communication, especially for voucher programs, can quickly offset the cost. It's about moving from manual, error-prone processes to efficient, compliant digital workflows, which ultimately reduces legal risks and operational costs for landlords of any size.
So what we're really discussing here is how to create an ecosystem where the business logic aligns with legal and ethical responsibilities. Housing vouchers offer a business case for stability, and technology can provide the operational framework to manage those tenancies efficiently, all while ensuring ADA compliance is met without undue burden. It transforms the perceived risk into a managed, beneficial relationship for both tenant and landlord. Building on our discussion of balancing business and ethics, we now arrive at the proposed settlement. This document is a crucial turning point, aiming for common ground. It explicitly outlines benefits for both sides: stability and safety for the disabled tenant, reliable payment for the property, and, significantly, reduced legal burden and cost for all involved. From a legal standpoint, such settlements are about finding a respectful and lawful resolution, often avoiding protracted and costly court battles, while ensuring fundamental rights like ADA accommodations are met.
Emma, you hit on key terms there: plank, reliable payment, and reduced legal burden and cost. As a venture capitalist, I look at the long-term value. While a landlord might see ADA accommodations or certain tenant demands as a short-term risk or additional expense, a comprehensive settlement that guarantees reliable payment through vouchers and avoids litigation offers immense long-term value. Legal battles are incredibly expensive, unpredictable, and can damage a property's reputation. A stable, long-term tenancy, even with specific accommodations, is far more attractive than a vacant unit or an ongoing court case.
And this is precisely where technology can shine. Imagine a mediation platform or standardized digital contracts that both parties can access. Such tools could facilitate smoother settlement processes, ensuring transparency by clearly outlining terms, payment schedules, and ADA requirements. Built-in compliance checks could even flag potential issues before they become disputes, making sure that ADA adherence is not just a promise, but an embedded part of the agreement.
That's a very pragmatic approach, Lisa. The beauty of a well-crafted settlement, especially one facilitated by clear digital tools, is that it formalizes the commitment to respectful and lawful resolution. It codifies the expectations for both the tenant, in terms of their ADA documented needs for safety and stability, and for the landlord, by providing that reliable payment structure. It moves beyond just a handshake to a legally binding, transparent agreement that benefits the broader community through increased safety and stability.
I agree, Emma. The two, reduced legal burden and cost, is a huge selling point for any property owner or management company. Consider the alternative: continued disputes, potential fines, and the sheer amount of time and resources spent in court. A settlement, especially one that leverages housing vouchers for reliable income, significantly de-risks the investment. It transforms a potentially contentious situation into a predictable, financially viable tenancy. It's about smart business, not just compliance.
Exactly. And these digital platforms can do more than just manage the settlement terms. They can store all the documentation, track communication, and even automate reminders for things like maintenance or ADA review periods. This level of transparency and automation builds trust and reduces misunderstandings, which are often the root cause of disputes in the first place. It ensures that the stability and safety for the tenant and reliable payment for the property are consistently upheld. Moving beyond immediate disputes, I think this discussion naturally leads us to a more forward-looking perspective. How can technology not just mediate but proactively improve accessible housing and communication? We're talking about everything from smart home features designed for ADA needs, like voice-activated controls, automated lighting, or emergency alert systems, to truly secure digital platforms where all landlord-tenant communication and documentation live. Imagine a world where all communication in writing isn't a burden, but a seamlessly integrated, accessible digital record for everyone.
That's an interesting vision, Lisa. From an investment standpoint, accessible housing tech is a growing, though often underserved, market. I see two main areas for opportunity here. First, direct investments in startups developing these smart home solutions or purpose-built property management platforms with robust accessibility features. Second, exploring models that incentivize landlords to adopt this technology. Could there be tax credits, grants, or even insurance benefits for properties that proactively integrate ADA-compliant tech? We need to make it financially attractive, not just a regulatory hurdle.
Both of those points are vital. While the technological innovations and investment incentives are exciting, we must ensure that these advancements are rooted in human-centered design and supported by clear policy. It's not just about adding smart features. It's about asking, does this genuinely meet the diverse needs of disabled tenants? Is it intuitive, reliable, and affordable? The goal should always be to foster increased community safety and stability, not just introduce new gadgets. How do we prevent a digital divide where only some tenants benefit from these innovations?
Emma, that's a crucial challenge. The scalability of these solutions often comes down to open standards and interoperability. We're seeing a trend where smart home ecosystems are becoming more open, allowing different devices to communicate. For property management, cloud-based, subscription models make sophisticated tools accessible to smaller landlords, much like we discussed earlier. The key is integration, a single platform that can manage leases, maintenance, billing, and all communication, while offering customizable accessibility features for tenants. This reduces complexity and cost for landlords, making adoption more likely.
But let's be pragmatic. Retrofitting existing properties with advanced smart home tech can be incredibly expensive. Is the return on investment truly there for landlords, especially in older housing stock? And what about the ongoing maintenance and technical support? Small landlords aren't going to become IT managers overnight. We need solutions that are truly plug and play, low maintenance, and have a clear, demonstrable financial upside beyond just doing good.
You're right, David, the doing good aspect needs a strong business case. However, consider the value proposition. Reduced vacancies due to a broader, more inclusive tenant pool, lower administrative costs through automation, and significantly reduced legal risks from ADA non-compliance. These are tangible financial benefits. Furthermore, modular solutions can allow landlords to start small, perhaps with a secure communication portal, and then add features like smart thermostats or entry systems as budgets allow. It's not an all-or-nothing proposition.
And this is where policy becomes the bridge. If governments offer incentives for accessible retrofits, or if housing authorities mandate certain digital communication standards for properties accepting vouchers, it creates a market demand and helps landlords overcome the initial investment hurdle. It moves accessibility from a nice-to-have to an integral part of sustainable housing, benefiting not just disabled tenants, but also the elderly, or anyone who values clear, documented communication and a safer living environment.
I can see investment opportunities in companies that aggregate these services for landlords, offering a one-stop shop for accessible tech integration and ongoing support. That mitigates the IT burden for property owners. There's also potential in public-private partnerships, where government grants could seed the initial tech development or deployment, making it more palatable for private capital to then scale. The challenge, as always, is finding that sweet spot where social impact meets viable financial returns.
Exactly, and let's not forget the data. These platforms can provide invaluable insights into housing needs, maintenance trends, and communication effectiveness, allowing for continuous improvement and better resource allocation. This data can inform policy, guide investment, and ultimately lead to a more responsive and equitable housing market. The technology isn't just about individual accommodations, it's about understanding and optimizing the entire housing ecosystem.
So what began as a tenant's plea for clarity and accommodation can truly evolve into a blueprint for innovative, accessible housing. By thoughtfully combining technological solutions, smart investment, and human-centered policy, we have the potential to build a housing future that is not only more efficient, but also profoundly more inclusive and stable for everyone, especially our most vulnerable community members. It's about ensuring technology serves humanity, not the other way around. As we wrap up this insightful discussion, it's clear that what began as a tenant's specific request for clarity and accommodation has illuminated the intricate balance required in our housing ecosystem. We've explored the delicate interplay between tenant rights, particularly for those with ADA-documented disabilities, and landlord responsibilities, recognizing their business realities. The role of systemic support, from emergency housing programs to housing vouchers, is undeniable in fostering stability. Ultimately, it's about creating a framework where individual needs are met within a fair and functional system.
Emma, that's a perfect summation. From an investment perspective, the landscape has definitely evolved. The days of simply maximizing profit without considering social impact are fading. Sustainable and ethical housing practices, which include robust ADA compliance and streamlined tenant management, are becoming not just a nice-to-have, but a crucial component of long-term value. Investors are starting to recognize that stable tenancies, reduced litigation, and a positive community reputation translate directly into financial resilience. My take is cautiously optimistic. The market is there, but the execution requires vision and a willingness to move beyond traditional models.
And from a technology standpoint, the path forward is clear, though not without its challenges. Digital transformation isn't just about efficiency, it's about transparency and equity. We have the tools to bridge communication gaps, streamline ADA accommodations, and manage properties in a way that benefits everyone. Implementing integrated platforms that simplify voucher processing, track maintenance, and ensure all communication is archived and accessible is key. My pragmatic outlook is that this ongoing digital evolution will inevitably lead to a more transparent and equitable housing future for all, especially for those who rely on ADA accommodations. It's no longer a luxury, but a necessity that technology can deliver at scale. The skepticism lies in the pace of adoption, but the benefits are too compelling to ignore.